So hindsight is always kind of 2020, especially for something, as evident as the draft, where you have picks. Everyone's kind of slated in a certain order. I remember when we actually first met, Chris. You told me about this exercise that you guys do kind of when you're on the road, especially being a regional scout in Ontario, where you're doing a lot of driving back and forth from London to Kingston and back, right? And so you would do this exercise where you would kind of to fill time, you'd comb over past drafts and talk about each player, what you thought about them at the time, what their development curves were like. Like what do you try to get out of that?
Well, I think you got a good memory, by the way, Connor. I think what we try and get out of it is it's a lot of fun and a good way to kill time, and much like yourselves, we're still fans of the game to a certain extent. We all played,
right,
but we still like to follow the game. So we did that actually this year. Todd Harvey and Judd Brackett and I drove all the way to North Bay, and for whatever reason, social media dropped the ball. Something happened. The game was canceled. There was a crack in the roof, and we literally drove home from North Bay after driving to North Bay. So on the way back, we had 3 hours or whatever it was, and we went through what you just said. We went through the last 4 or 5 years for almost every team, and tried to remember, or first of all, without even looking on your phone, or one person would have their phone going. I was doing the driving to see how many games somebody played, or have they been successful. And the exercise, it's a lot of fun, but it also forces you to look at what type of player have our teams interested in, not just our team. And is there a bit of a pattern in some of the picks at certain rounds? Do they go skill early? Do they go size later? Do they go European late? Like, is there any pattern? And the biggest reason is so you don't make the same mistakes over again. Like, you should be able to learn something from it. If you're constantly in the fourth round and taking maybe an undersized defenseman who can run a power play, but they're just not making it, maybe you should switch it up and go to something different, and who is making it and who's not making it. So I think that's the value to it. And you've got some time to kill, and it's a fun way to do it. And also the people that are doing it and sitting in the car together, we're not pointing the finger at anybody saying, you drafted that guy and he was terrible. And I'm sure there's a long line of people all over the world right now that found, just like people said they found Bobby Orr, or people are probably saying they found Elias Pettersson right now. Everyone wants to say they found Elias Pettersson. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it's when people succeed, it's easier. So, and we had some people watch Petey play for a heck of a long time before he was drafted, and some real good people spent a lot of time there. So it's amazing when no one cares sort of who gets credit, how far you can go. But getting back to answer your question, going back and looking at drafts, I think has some value, and I don't think enough teams do it in a trusting environment where you can actually say, hey, maybe we should be going in a different direction. I think you learn from it is what I'm trying to say.
Well, you made a really good point there in the sense that, it's not about like the egos. You're not trying to point at someone and say, hey, you took a flyer on this one player. It didn't work out, right? You're trying to learn at the end of the day. Like every day you're trying to be the better scout, I guess, evaluator of talent than you were yesterday.
100%. And if you're onto something in the late rounds and it's working for you, and the players start playing in the NHL, like you look at how hard it is to have even a 3 good third years. It's hard. And if you can find something that works for you, and your general manager and your director of player personnel and everybody's on board, and you're all talking the same language, it can work out pretty well. But then you also have to know, why is it working well? And so if it's not working well, what should we be doing different? So I think by going back and looking at those drafts, it's a lot of fun.
That's something we do too, Chris. So I think we qualify.
That's
we
all
qualify
we do.
for an internship.
I don't do anything
right?
but that.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
Right on.